Hey guys, welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles! Last time we started the new episode of the Runaway... Oh, this is so embarrassing. The Runaway something. You'll see in the title of the video. But nevertheless, we met Mr. Strongheart, who's Chief Justice in Great Britain, and he wanted us to defend someone. But the problem is that that person gets a lawyer that is not actually a real lawyer, because we actually are not really a lawyer. We just started off, although we are very talented, we didn't feel like up to job, and Susato and Strongheart kind of convinced us to still give it a try, because that poor person that needs defense has nobody to defend them, and that means that we are up to the job. So before we go and move to where we're supposed to go, to the Old Bailey, we are going to converse first of all with Susato-san. Mr. Susato, can I just ask you something? Careful, from this position I can perform a Susato takedown in an instant. I know. Mr. Naruhodo, you heard Lord Strongheart. The trial starts imminently. If I need to throw you, I will. You know, you could just say, I think we should hurry to the courtroom. If you need to ask me anything, it had better wait until we're at the Old Bailey. So, she is very determined. That means we are going to the Old Bailey. (18th February, 9:45 a.m. The Old Bailey. Defendants, antechamber. Oh, thank goodness, we're in time. There's still 50 minutes until the trial begins. I never knew a horse-drawn carriage could go so fast. I thought my teeth were going to rattle loose. Did you hear what I said to the driver when we climbed aboard? Get us to our destination in 5 minutes, driver, and there's a guinea in it for you. Okay? It's one of my favorite lines from the Herlock Sholmes stories, and it worked quite perfectly. I'm not sure why you're so pleased. I thought we were going to die, and we had to pay gold for the privilege. Well, at least we arrived here before the trial started. Yes, I suppose there's that. Anyway, I don't understand it. The court clerk said the defendant should be here, but there's no sign of him at all. So this is the Old Bailey. Even this room for defendants to wait in is grand. Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm feeling tense, that's all. This place gives me the same sense of foreboding that I remember from the Supreme Court in Japan. An oppressive air, almost as if the building itself is going to crush whoever is about to be sentenced. It feels like only yesterday that I was the one about to be crushed. Yes, whoever the man you're to defend is, I imagine he's feeling very alone at this moment. Top of the morning to you, madam. Sir?
What are yous doing? Follow me here. Things are fair desperate, are they?
Sorry?
Would you look at those expressionless faces? From the East, are yous?
We're from Japan, yes.
Ah, Japan is it? Right, say no more. So, how much do yous need?
No, we're just here because...
No need to explain, fella. I've been there myself, so I have. No place to go, nothing to eat, barely penny to your name, and all on a strange faraway land.
Well, actually, we haven't found a place to stay yet, no.
Tis grand. Let me start by giving yous 1,000 guineas. Say nothing, no.
1,000 guineas? Please, Mr. Sato, you don't have to shout. But 1,000 guineas is... is enough to build an entire mansion in the most prestigious area of Tokyo. What?
'Tis nothing to me at all. I like to ensure I have sufficient funds to weather a rainy day, you see. I've enough wealth to buy the city of London 2 or 3 times over.
Could that much rain even fall in one day? Well, even so, we couldn't possibly accept such a large sum of money. That hit me in the eye.
Don't get me wrong, fella. I'm not giving it to you no strings attached. I'll be wanting you to do something for me. To be honest, 'tis a little embarrassing. The trial that's about to begin, you see, is for me good self here. I'll be in the dark. So now, what I want you to do is come along with me and stand there beside me. Officially, you'd be my lawyer, but that's just a little detail now.
Well, the thing is...
Don't worry about a thing. All you have to do is stand up there next to me. Nothing more. Otherwise, you see, the trial is going to start without me having any kind of representation at all.
So it was true. The Lord Chief Justice wasn't just making it all up. I'm terribly sorry to have to ask, but does that mean you're the defendant in this trial?
Bluster and blazes. Do yous not know who I am? Me? One of London's biggest names?
No, sorry, we've only just arrived in the city, you see.
I see. I suppose it isn't altogether impossible. Well, just next to Hyde Park, there's in the centre of London another beautiful park.
Sorry, a park? What?
'Tis called McGilded Park, full of blossoming flowers of the spring and singing birds and whatnot. I donated to the city, so I did.
An entire park in central London?
A city of smiles. That's my vision for London. There's nothing Magnus McGilded wouldn't do for the city and its queer old people.
Alright, Mr. Magnus McGilded. Good to know. That's amazing. I mean, really extraordinary.
But now they've got some good for nothing criminal named Magnus McGilded. What is the matter with the London police, I ask ya? Ha ha!
Sorry, guys. Alright, don't pass out. Mr. Naruto? Perhaps now would be a good time to introduce ourselves while the gentleman catches his breath. Good idea.
Ha ha ha.
Mr. McGilded, the thing is, we're actually here in London to study British law. We're law students on a study for a tour from Japan, you see.
Ha ha.
So if you don't have a lawyer for the trial yet, and you'd be happy to put yourself in our hands, we'll do our best.
What does it have to say, you daft agent? I've given you 1,000 years to stand up there next to me, haven't I?
Well, yes, but I wasn't really offering to just stand up there next to you.
Oh, I think I see what's going on here.
Sorry?
I know what you're thinking. This chance of a fella claims to have more money than the Queen. But if that's true, why the blazes can't he hire the finest lawyer in all of England? Because he did it. That's the only explanation.
Well... well... Okay, exactly or not at all? I'll go with not at all, because we have to believe in our client. Not at all, although it is a little strange, to be honest. Why you don't have a lawyer, I mean?
That would be the fault of the Reaper.
Sorry? Did he just say Reaper?
Aye, the Grim Reaper of the Bailey, Lord Barak van Zeeks. He's the prosecutor.
The prosecutor is the Grim Reaper?
When Van Zeeks stands for the prosecution, they call the accused the sacrificial lambs. And to this day, in every single trial in which has been the prosecutor. The accused has been damned.
What?
So it's reached the desperate situation where there's no one willing to stand in defense against the fella at all. You could say he's a living legend of the Old Bailey.
Goodness, Lord Barack von Zeeks. I heard that name before. I don't know who he is or what he looks like, but I remember that name, von Zeeks. He must be an exceptionally talented prosecutor then.
Talented isn't the word you're looking for, madam. It's cursed.
Cursed? What on earth?
The defendant is summoned, and his counsel. Please make your way into the courtroom. The trial is about to begin.
His counsel? That would be me.
Oh, 'tis time. Well then, fella, don't let me down.
But I don't know anything about the case. You haven't told me what happened.
Until you showed your face here, I'd made up my mind, so I had.
Sorry?
I decided I'd have to defend myself in there.
How would that have worked?
But then you made an appearance. A student of law, wouldn't you know? 'Tis no accident, I can assure you of that. 'Tis fate. So don't get cold feet now, please.
Quite the character, this guy. I literally know nothing about the case or about this man who stands accused. In fact, the only thing I do know is that I can't just turn my back on him. Mr. Naruto. The man has no one. He'll have to stand alone in that courtroom, armed with nothing to defend himself. Yes, something that Cosmo would never have allowed to happen.
Counsel for the defense, what are you doing?
If you're late for the start of the trial, you will lose your right to stand.
I'll be right there. What's happening then? My first trial in a British court. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma, because I have no idea how I'm going to manage this. Alright. 18th February, 10 a.m. The Old Bailey courtroom. The Old Bailey courtroom. Ooh. Oh, what? Why are there so many? The judicial system. So this is the highest court in Great Britain, the Old Bailey. Centuries of history in this place is palpable, isn't it? It's so different to the Supreme Court in Japan. Feels both imposing and serene at the same time. The atmosphere almost makes words redundant. Whatever the country, determining a person's guilt or innocence is always a solemn affair. May I say something, Mr. Naruto? Oh, yes, what? Your eyes look ready to pop out of your head again. I know, but I just can't help it. Oh, there's Von Zeeks. And that's the judge.
In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here today to determine the guilt of innocence of Mr. Magnus McGilded. I now call upon the counsels for the prosecution and defense to declare the willingness to proceed.
The prosecution is fully prepared. That must be the Reaper of the Bailey. He really does look fully prepared to dispatch his next poor victim to the underworld.
Counsel for the defense. You appear to be Eastern. Do you speak English?
Huh? Oh, yes, of course. Sorry. But he asked if the defense was ready. And I couldn't be further from ready if I tried.
Those eyes please me. Nipponese. They shroud your fear, your doubt, your trepidation. They run wild, clinging to some phantom notion of courage. The quintessential look of a sacrificial lamb. A cold shiver just ran down my spine all the way to the tips of my toes. Now, Mr. McGilded,
Yes, my lord.
you stand accused of murder, a capital offense. You could be sent to the gallows if found guilty. Are you quite sure you wish to entrust your defense to this foreigner?
As I've always said, my lord, it's a grand thing to give opportunities to the young. Even if the fellow's a student from some little island off in the Far East. It is not the British way to ignore the dangers to yourself and give those less fortunate a fair chance. I'd like to think that act of chivalry to the great British Empire proud.
Listen to Mr.
What a fine gentleman Haslam.
Did you hear that John owed £5,000 to the government the other day?
Mother,
Mother, please may you go and play in McGill Park?
It seems as though everyone in the public gallery is firmly behind Mr. McGilded. That's definitely welcome news, and he certainly has a way with words. I'm surprised he couldn't convince anyone to defend him.
eloquently put, Mr. McGilded, and most laudable sentiments. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm sure I need hardly remind you
Sorry?
that you 6 members of the public have been selected for your impartiality. Are you ready to proceed?
Yes.
Yes, my lord. If the task is to send trotters to the gallows where they belong, I'm more than ready.
At the manor, his lordship always says we should dispose of rubbish promptly. Naturally, I agree.
Ah, any criminals here will soon be wishing they never set eyes on me.
I feel a chill. Oh, don't mind me, my dears. I just be getting on with my knitting. Must finish these mitts for my grandson.
Mr. Naruto, those people are... The jury, yes. That's something we don't have in Japan yet. That's right. I've only ever read about it. But here in Great Britain, the court's final verdict depends on the opinions of these 6 jurors. The judge passes sentence according to the law, but the jurors determine guilt based on common sense. So the defendant is ultimately judged from 2 completely different points of view. But how exactly do the jurors give their verdict? That I don't know, but I'm sure it will become clear as the trial progresses. Yes.
Prosecutor von Zix. My lord, it's been a number of years since we've seen you here in the courtroom. I thought you'd renounced your fame.
I'm known as the Reaper of the Bailey, my lord.
Infamy rather than fame, I would say.
But yes,
5 years have passed since I last spread my wings in this capacity. So, what brings you back? Is there some change of circumstance of which the court should be aware?
I leave that to your imagination, my lord. So the Reaper has been out of action for 5 years? Why did he have to choose today of all days to make a comeback? Don't lose heart, Mr. Naruto.
As you wish, sir. The court nevertheless welcomes your return. Now then, opening statements, I think. A summary of the case, if you please. Certainly, my lord. As your lordship is aware, this is a case of overwhelming simplicity.
We must be the only ones in here who aren't aware.
The incident took place in the late evening 3 days past. The hour was some minutes after 10. The victim was a maker of building bricks known in the community as Thrice-Fired Mason.
Sorry, Thrice?
He was a very accomplished craftsman. The bricks he fired were said to be almost indestructible. The victim's corpse was discovered in an omnibus in service on the streets of London at the time. A dagger that had been thrust into the victim's abdomen is believed to be the ultimate cause of death. Here is the autopsy report from the investigating medical officer at Scotland Yard. Thank you, Counsel. I shall accept that and the photograph as evidence.
The autopsy report has been entered into the record record. Autopsy report prepared by the Scotland Yard coroner gives the cause of death as internal hemorrhaging as a result of a single stab wound to the abdomen. And the photograph of the crime scene has been entered into the courtroom. A photograph of the victim taken on an omnibus. The knife in his abdomen is clearly visible, but his face is partly obscured from view by an old crooked head.
And on further item of evidence, the prosecution wishes to submit these as well. And these are... Good Lord, is that blood, Counsel? Yes, my lord. Seized by a policeman who arrived at the scene. These gore-soaked gloves were taken from the hands of the accused when he was arrested.
What? Mr. McGilder's gloves? And that blood on them?
Yes, I will accept these as evidence as well.
The defendant's leather gloves have been entered into the court record. Defendant's leather gloves. The leather gloves the defendant was wearing at the time of the incident. There's a bloodstain on the right glove. Doesn't look good. How did I get into this? Sorry, guys. I'm backed into a corner before I even started. Continuing.
According to the driver of the omnibus, there were only 2 passengers traveling inside his vehicle at the time.
Only 2?
Obviously, one of those passengers was the deceased brickmaker, Mr. Mason. The other was the accused, Magnus McGilded.
Well, rather damning circumstances to say the least. Defendant, what say you?
Well, of course, I have no recollection of such a thing.
Mr. McGilded!
To be sure, I rode the omnibus that evening. But whenever I'm in carriage, I'm taken with a fierce tiredness and always succumb to it.
Are you claiming to have been asleep?
'Tis the motion of the carriage, my lord. Lilton, so it is. And when I opened my eyes again, it was a desperate sight before me. Body of a man I'd never laid eyes on before in my life. No excuse. What good-hearted soul wouldn't rush to help a fellow bleeding from his stomach? It wasn't about to start worrying about my gloves now, was I? I reached out to give the man a hand.
So the blood got into the gloves then after the man had been killed.
Unfortunately, that statement of the driver's is only the beginning.
What? That's not all of it?
There were multiple witnesses to the precise moment at which the brickmaker was fatally stabbed. Order, order, order! When the killing took place, only the victim and the accused were inside the carriage, and there were witnesses to the crime. This is not just a case of compelling evidence. It's the nail in the coffin for the accused. Thank you, counsel. The circumstances of the crime have been made quite clear. I think we will hear testimony from these witnesses first of all. Your wish is my command. Bailiff, bring the witnesses in at once.
We have several witnesses once again. Okay. Witnesses, your names and occupations.
My name is, well, everyone calls me Beppo. I drive an omnibus in the East End.
Bruce, fair play. I'm a banker in the city.
My name's First. Lady First. I make hats for gents.
Let's begin by confirming the facts. 3 days ago, at a short time after 10 o'clock in the evening, all of you present in the stand were in an omnibus and witness to the aforementioned incident. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Quite right.
Yes, sir, that's right, sir.
Very well then. Let's proceed to your formal testimonies, please. Each of you will tell the court precisely what you saw.
Alright guys, but before we go to the witness testimony, we already reached the, not quite right now, but we almost reached the half, although, now let's just hear what they have to say, and afterwards I'm going to save and end the episode. So, what the witnesses saw.
It was the last bus of the evening, so I had few customers. I remember it well.
The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus. When out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife right into his guts.
That's right. He stabbed him. I screamed, I did. I couldn't help it. As soon as they heard the scream, I stopped my bus. And then I saw it too.
An ambiguous testimony, I must say. Exactly, my lord. These men witnessed the incident in the omnibus with their own eyes.
I'd like to ask a question if I may.
Yes, counsel. Well,
This testimony makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever.
why not?
Well, the incident took place inside a moving carriage, didn't it?
As has been clearly stated from the outset, yes.
Well, in that case, how could those two witnesses possibly have seen what happened? There's no way they could have seen the inside of the moving carriage.
That's true. How quaint. I dread the civilization in the Eastern Island nations was a good century behind our own. But you're here in London yourself. Are you really so ignorant about our omnibuses?
Huh?
Tell me, my Nipponese friend, have you even traveled in an omnibus?
Well, no. We, only arrived in London this morning.
No matter. I've arranged for us all to see for ourselves the actual scene of the crime, that is.
What do you mean? The actual scene? How?
Sorry? A carriage is designed to be moved, after all. Presumably, you understand that much.
Yes.
The omnibus in which this bloody crime took place is here today in this very building.
What? The entire carriage?
Bailiff, bring forth the stricken omnibus.
So that's an omnibus. The omnibus. Well, but right now, I think that's enough for this episode, guys. If you want to see how things unfold, you'll have to tune in for the next episode of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. See you then.